I have to go in and figure out what was that business worth the minute before it was reduced to a pile of ash. And typically the accounting records are gone. Everything's gone. And so I have to go in and I'm being overly dramatic. It's not always this dramatic, but I have to go in and figure out what the loss of income is, and to the extent the business is permanently destroyed, what was the value of that business the moment before that event happened.
All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Risky Assets Podcast. We are doing a special one for Daniel and I. Over here to my right is Chris Hamilton. Chris, thank you for being on the podcast. I know you're so looking forward to this.
I am. Thanks for having me.
We were messing around.
I was like,
friends. I don't think you're going to have a good time. But, hey, I want to start out the podcast with something just serious, straight out the gate. When was the last time the Illuminati contacted you? You know?
What time is it?
I was thinking the other day just what questions to ask, and I don't know what I was doing, but I was like, you've been in leadership, and I'm like, how funny would it be if you actually got contacted by a lot of these really important agencies?
What's so funny about that?
I knew there had to be some truth somewhere.
He's with the alcohol side. He's the Dos Equis most interesting man in the world. Yeah.
He's the second. He just didn't make the cut. No, it's incredible.
For all the viewers, you just need to know I'm an accountant. Yeah. So that's it.
The day job. Well, that's actually a good segue into like who you are from a professional standpoint. You are an accountant, from what I saw on the website and kind of what we've discussed. Forensic, for the most part. Yeah. I saw some litigation stuff, so it sounds like you do, whether it's investigations and depositions, give opinions. Like, just give us a rundown on what you do professionally.
Yeah, I am a certified public accountant, CPA, which is also known as cleaning, pressing, and alterations.
Okay.
So I do that too.
I've not heard about
that's
that.
Usually at home. And I'm a certified fraud examiner and a certified valuation analyst. What all that means is, or the application of that in my life right now, is that I am involved primarily in litigation, which is to say that my background in finance, accounting, economics is all applied to in the context of complex civil litigation.
Yeah, well, usually litigation's not a good thing. So I'm like, okay, there has to be something that's happened for you to be in that position.
Yeah.
Typically, what is going on or what is happening that you have to go in and do those things?
Yeah, it's usually there's been a disagreement between business owners, or there's been flat out malfeasance of some kind, or there's often human disaster or acts of God, as you insurance people would call it. So fires, floods, those kinds of things. And, the forensic aspect of when you say I'm a forensic accountant, that's what I'm called.
Sure.
So the most dramatic example of why we call it forensic is that, in all the fires that have been going on, I'm involved in a lot of the litigation related to that. So I have to go in and figure out what was that business worth the minute before it was reduced to a pile of ash. And typically the accounting records are gone. Everything's gone. And so I have to go in and I'm being overly dramatic. It's not always this dramatic, but I have to go in and figure out what the loss of income is, and to the extent the business is permanently destroyed, what was the value of that business the moment before that event happened.
Who is hiring you? Is it the actual business owners? Is it the insurance companies? Like, who is asking you to do that work for those fires typically?
Attorneys, law firms.
Got it.
That is who is hiring me almost exclusively now. And there are times, and these are great cases, where judges are calling and saying, I have a complex case in my courtroom. Both attorneys agree that we need a neutral expert to come in. And they think that having one expert is better than multiple experts. So those are fun.
Yeah.
Because then I'm working with both sides to try and get to an answer. So all of that taps into decades of my experience as the classic accountant, where I did tax returns, financial statements, all that stuff that I call boring now.
And you, if I remember correctly, you sold that portion of your business or your tax practice specifically.
Well, I actually handed it off to a young man who we hired as an intern. He came into the firm, became a full-time employee eventually became a partner.
Love it.
And in all of that, handed that tax practice over to him.
Okay.
So it was a process.
How long did it take to get from start to finish on a process like that? Is it a couple year process?
Yeah, years.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least you got to keep that stuff in house to a certain degree. So that's nice.
And I still have a relationship with all those people, so I do get pulled back into that. I still do a tax return or two.
Does it have the last name Hamilton on it usually?
Well, yeah. But generally, if the tax return doesn't take 3 days to do, I'm really not interested.
Okay.
Got it.
So it's
You want
more
complexity.
complex and tricky stuff. And then there's this personal relationship.
Of course.
So each of the tax returns that I do still do, and there's not that many, really go back to deep personal relationship with that person. It's a touch point once a year to visit with them.
I love it.
Take care of their tax return.
That's great.
If you remember, what was the first move from standard tax practice into forensic accounting?
Yeah, it's a great story. At least it is for me. My partner and I had just started our firm, and he happened to be on the board of directors of Boy Scouts. And he was at a board meeting, and sitting next to him was a man who was the head of the LA office of the FBI at the time. This was 35 years ago. And he said, hey, I have this case. I need some forensic accounting help. And you're a CPA. Can you help me out on this case? And my partner said, no, but I have a partner with nothing to do. That was me. And that's how I met this man and got pulled into this case. And the end story of that case is we flew up. This was a international company, and it was a division where it turns out the senior management down to middle management was all colluding and stealing from the company. And there was an inside informant. So we got on an airplane one afternoon, flew. This is all very secret and confidential, I think, even 30 years later. So I have to mask the story a little bit. Sure. But we met in a bar at 1 a.m. with the inside informant. They let us know, handed us the keys. We had authorization from corporate, from the board of directors. Nobody knew we were doing this inside the company except the board of directors, which was international. They were overseas, and this inside informant who worked in the accounting department. So the factory was, I'm probably taking way too much time.
This is so interesting.
This is great. I love it.
The show is unraveling, you know?
Yeah. I don't know where you were going, but I just took over.
Yeah.
But we met with her. She told us where everything was. We left her there and went to the plant, which was operating 24 hours a day, 3 shifts. So we had to sneak into the offices, and it was back when there was manual accounting records. So the reason I was there was I heard what we needed to prove. Mm-hmm. I knew what records we needed to get. And the goal was to pull records that were recent enough to make the case, but weren't critical to the day-to-day operations of the company. And I'll explain that in a minute. And a truck backed up to the offices, and we loaded that truck with accounting documents. I just walked through and said, get that, get that, get that, get that. Pull that. It wasn't doing backups for computers.
Sure.
It was just before all of that.
Oh, it's like a John Grisham novel.
I love it. It was great.
I love this so much.
Okay, one of my favorite parts is as we were leaving the building, the law enforcement guys, the investigators said, hold on, and they rewound the surveillance tape so that there was no evidence we were there. Isn't that great?
No way.
So we headed off. We met with the inside informant, explained to her what had happened, reminded her of her instructions that she was to go to work in the morning and every day, and as soon as somebody asked for one of these notebooks or one of these folders with documents, walk out of the building, get to a phone and call this number. I loved the cloak and dagger, and that would mean that the investigative phase was over.
Got it.
And so we flew back to LAX. I got home, took a nap, quick shower, got to the office just as, basically the truck pulled up, unloaded in our conference room, and we started working around the clock building the case. From an accounting standpoint, Meanwhile, the investigators were doing asset searches on all of the employees, and then we got the phone call about 2 weeks later. So it was a success.
Sure.
We made the case, and we had enough time before somebody figured out these accounting records are gone, and everything was poised. It was amazing to watch, but I think 7 or 8 people went to jail.
So not a small amount of money, obviously.
It was a huge amount of money.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
So they were doing good until they weren't.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a really long answer
No,
to your
it's great.
question. That is when I got the taste in my mouth. On the flight back to L.A., this man told me, you need to be doing this. And this, I'm sorry, when on the flight back to L.A., after we went up, they rented the top floor of a hotel. And basically, I don't know how they did it, but they put each of the people in a room, and one by one, we went up the org chart. I got to sit there and watch them lay out the evidence to each of the employees, have them confess, roll over on the next person. It was amazing. And then they would get escorted out by law enforcement.
Wow.
And booked. On the way back from that is when he said, you really need to be doing this. Would you be willing to come work for the FBI? And I said, no, not interested. And he said, here's what you need to do. And I, for the next 4 or 5 years, did exactly what he told me. And it meant getting certifications
Sure.
and training and experience in other areas. And the rest is history.
That's so fun.
So you spend a lot of your days in the courtroom now, like on a weekly basis, right?
Yeah, I'm in court, actually in trial, maybe 3-4 times a year.
Okay.
I am in deposition many more times than that. We're in an era, really since COVID, where I've seen a shift where most cases really do settle now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the first part of my career, my forensic career, I did a lot of work in family court, complex estates. I didn't get involved in the divorce aspect, but in figuring out what are these businesses worth and how are assets, and doing tracing. And
Sure.
when I did that, I was in court every other week.
Okay.
So that's downtown LA, all that good stuff.
LA, Orange County,
Right.
San Diego, Santa Barbara, San Bernardino.
It's a lot more moving than I would have expected.
A lot of driving.
It's not as boring as a CPA job as I normally hear.
It's not. Most people in my firm want to get in the game.
I bet.
They want to be doing what he's doing over there. And then they do it once and they realize this isn't as exciting
Sure.
as it is drudgery. It is a lot of pick and shovel work. And I have to be careful on what anybody does to help me, because if they do any deep analysis level work, they're going to go into deposition. And nobody likes that.
Sure.
Yeah, we've sat through a few of those.
Yeah.
They're
Not ideal.
Did
They're
you
not
like
great.
that?
Didn't
Want to
love
do
it.
it for a living?
If I was on the other side, I probably wouldn't care as much. But, you know, the other thing, too, that I was curious about, you said 30-something years you started the firm?
Yes.
Okay. How long were you not an owner? Like, I mean...
Oh, we started our firm in 1994, so that's 32 years ago, and I was a partner day one.
And then what were you doing before that? I mean, you had a couple of years of experience, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Or how old were you at that point when you were like, hey, I'm going to start this firm with somebody?
Well, I was 30 when we started the firm, maybe
Okay.
29, and I had been in a public accounting firm for a couple of years. I grew up in a public accounting firm. My father was a CPA.
Got it.
Okay.
So I had a lot of experience in that
Much
regard.
more comfortable in that regard, yeah.
Yeah, and I came out of college wanting to be a CPA, but go into private industry, or what we call private industry, not public accounting.
Sure.
So I went to work for a Fortune 500 company
Very cool.
and thought that was what I wanted to do. Met tremendous success, but the day I went home to my new wife and said they want to move us to corporate headquarters in Erie, Pennsylvania. Do you want to live in Erie? And she said no, and I said, great, neither do I. So I had to go back the next day and say, that tremendous pathway to stardom you offered me, I'm going to turn you down. And when you do that, you got to go.
Yeah, I get it.
That's when I jumped back into public accounting. For 2 years, I gave notice. One of my bosses, a partner in that firm, called me that night and said, can I come with you?
Oh, wow.
And he, until he retired last year, was my partner from beginning to end,
Incredible.
and a mentor and just a good man.
That's really cool. One of my questions that I've been thinking through. So, you were very helpful with our partnership issue and just being able to, consult and be able to ask you questions. But you've had a couple of partners as well. What's the good and the bad? I mean, it seems like you've had the good taste of partnership and maybe some of the bad as well. What do you see as the things that are helpful and the things that you go, hey, this guy is probably going to be a good partner? What do you see as the bad? Because you've been through it.
Yeah, I've always been grateful for my partners. You have to have the perspective. It's a lot like a marriage, that you don't want them to be exactly like you.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you have to learn to live with those differences and appreciate those differences. Mm-hmm. And not get overly frustrated. And I'm giving you the positives and the negatives here. The negative is you get frustrated with those differences, that the decision is really clear. Can we just get there and do this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rare that comes up. But you learn to appreciate. As you get older, you look back and you realize maybe that delay was, I would say the providence of God, that you live within the relationships that you have defined for yourself. And when you remain within the parameters of those relationships, God's providence becomes evident over the long term. Now, we had our philosophy of partnership, which continues to this day, 36 years later, is every partner gets paid exactly the same. We don't look at production. We don't look at effort until we do. Okay.
Well, usually if you're looking at effort like that, it's a problem.
Yes, correct. And so over the years, we have come to the conclusion that certain partners, they're in a different phase of life. They have different interests. They have different concerns, different challenges outside of work, whatever. But they aren't pulling equally. And then the question is it temporary or permanent?
Right.
And if you determine that it's temporary, fine.
Yeah, give them grace.
Exactly. And you help and you work a little bit harder to cover for them until, let's say they're sick or whatever the case may be. When it's permanent, this isn't working out. It's going to be best for you. You obviously don't want to be a part of what we're doing here on the level that you need to be here. It's just time to go. And it's usually viewed as negative. I've never seen in hindsight where anybody viewed it as negative. It's always been positive. It's just hard to see it in the middle of it that, whatever we've got here, it's done. It's time to move on.
I think it is negative in the moment because it's abrasive, or it feels very abrasive at the time to do this big thing. And like, hey, how are they going to do? What's their life going to look like? But over time, especially as believers, the Lord will take care of them. And also, people are resilient for the most part, unless they're really doing something wrong. They will go figure it out.
Yeah, because if they're your partner, you obviously know they're competent. You trust them. You respect them. And you can't forget what got you there, and that they're all that. It's just that that skill set just isn't fitting in right now with what we're doing.
So you've seen that, hey, we're a little distracted, maybe not a good fit. Have you seen common issues that pop up with entrepreneurs that end up going, hey, whether it's I want a vacation too much, what are the normal pitfalls you see if someone's starting to get distracted from doing the main thing at work?
Yeah, I've always said this, and it's been affirmed by a couple decades of doing this.
Okay.
The issues come up when there's not enough money and there's too much money. And I know there's never too much money, but there are times when you look at it and you're like, wow, we're hitting home runs right now.
Well, people want more of the pie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when there's on the a lot of money end of the spectrum, people start thinking that's me. I did that. And you forget, well, our philosophy here is we're all pushing the sled, and some of us push harder than others at certain times and others different. When there's not enough money, it's the finger pointing. Mm-hmm. It's now that's an orphan. Nobody wants to claim responsibility for that situation. So it's finger pointing. So I really think those two extremes are, to answer to your question, the most common. And really it comes down to an insecurity of
It's a value creation issue for them?
Yes, right. I bring more value than you, or I'm a harder worker than you. You don't value that I balance the checkbook every month, because if I didn't do that, you wouldn't know how much money we have. That kind of stuff. And I'm not just talking about my own personal experience in my own companies. I've done a lot of work
with
in the litigation world. I mean, those disputes are what drive the litigation industry, unfortunately, because people react in weird ways. Sometimes it's locking partners out. Sometimes it's walking away with intellectual property. Sometimes it's War of the Roses in a corporate environment.
So when you say distractions, you mean do you see guys like take other jobs where they're doing a different line of work? They've decided they're excited about something else, so they're still your partner, but now they're doing this other thing. And
feels like to me it's when you start making money and you decide I like the beach more than I like my office. That could be an issue.
Could be.
Whether family, kids, the stuff that's understandable is sick, where you go, hey, that's temporary or whatever. But I don't know. I get real locked in on like, hey, this has to be the main thing, and you can go play if you're working really hard. But I know not everybody has that mindset. Well, they just go, I want to mess around now. I've paid my dues. You see a lot of that.
Oh yeah, everything you've said is in there and a whole bunch more. Sure. It's the human condition. When you bring a bunch of people together and you're going to coexist, those two fringes, not enough money, a lot of money, starts bringing out more of, well, we didn't contemplate this dispute when we set up our partnership agreement, or whatever the agreement is called.
Yeah.
The buy-sell agreement is kind of the broad description of that. It's a prenuptial agreement. It is or the equivalent. It is, okay, we're all in love today. If there is a day where someone needs to go or wants to go, how is that going to be determined? What is that going to look like?
Sure.
This leads us into one of the things that we were talking to you about, bringing a partner in. And I remember sitting in your office and we together kind of made a fatal mistake early on.
Sitting in my office?
No, that was the right thing to do. We didn't listen. That was the mistake. But, we were talking about giving up a financial vote to not feel like this one partner was going to get himself, either locked out, giving himself a demotion, and you looked at us and you're like, don't do that. And we were like, oh, okay. And we did it anyway. And so I know that there's a lot of stuff where sometimes the entrepreneur is just going, hey, we're going to do this. What's the craziest thing you've seen outside of our dumb decision to not, have a financial vote and give one up? What are other things that people do to try and make stuff work, round peg, square hole, that you've seen?
Yeah, I think making significant business decisions, and there's not a bigger one than who your partners are going to be. Doing that based on hope.
Right.
Of knowing what you're looking at, and for some reason thinking if we just put owner next to their name, they will somehow be different. I think that's the most common mistake, and it's the worst mistake.
What have I been saying about some of the stuff here? It's like, hey, you are who you are today.
Yeah.
That's who we have to evaluate today, is who you are, not who we think you can become. Like if you show up twice a week to work, that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And so we've learned the hard way, but it's something that we keep talking about because we offer ownership in the business for people that are buying in. We want to see that you are ownership material today.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
That's a hard lesson. We paid for that one, but yeah.
Well, and it overlaps a little bit, when we talk about church stuff, you talk about guys becoming elders at the church. You're like, we want to see guys that are already doing the work.
Yeah.
First and foremost. They're
doing
already,
the work and showing the qualification of life.
Right. Yeah. Already functioning in that capacity though.
Yeah, you could say the same thing. It's you are who you are today. Like, are you functioning in that regard?
Yeah.
One of the things I want to pivot to now, because it's a good segue, you are also an elder at Grace Community Church. You've been doing that a while as well. How long have you been an elder at Grace?
I think it's been 22 years, 21, 22 years.
Okay, so young man still to a certain degree, family. One of the things that I was thinking is, all right, there's another leadership position that you're in, on top of the family, on top. It felt like you had a lot of jobs maybe in that early phase of life. Were you not sleeping? Like, what was life like during that time with kids, family, all that good stuff?
Yeah, definitely not sleeping, and that's true to this day.
Sure. Okay.
It
not
was
a big sleep guy.
It was a lot. No, it was a lot more complex with young children.
Of course, yeah.
But in some ways, it was a lot better defined because there was no way that I was going to compromise my responsibilities as a father, because that will disqualify anything you're trying to do in the church. So what I would say is I have a remarkable wife who is fully on board, fully supportive, not of Chris Hamilton necessarily, although she is. It's of the church and what Christ has called us to do, which is to be involved in the church, love the church, as well as all the responsibilities of family, and then providing for the family. So yeah, it is overwhelming at times,
Sure.
And I can't think too far into the future because it's like sitting in college class the first day looking at the syllabus, realizing I just got 3 more of these in my other classes. There is no way all of this is going to get done.
Yeah.
And yet it gets done.
So what's the balance been with ministry life, professional life, which is clearly demanding, and family life? I imagine your phone could ring off the hook with ministry stuff throughout the day. How do you focus on work when it's time to work? Is it like I just go on Do Not Disturb, I don't answer my phone, or how do you keep them separate?
It's a great question. I don't know, but somehow it happens. I don't turn off my phone.
Okay.
I assume that when I get a phone call, that's a divine appointment. It's just how I've always lived. And I shouldn't probably say that publicly because now everybody will.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah. No, I have said it publicly. And the Lord has been the governor of that. The Lord has limited that. I mean, I have so many relationships outside of the church. I mean, I teach and speak around the country to other people who want to do what I do for a living. So I do certification training. You know, I'm talking 17 hours of lecture over 2 days. Well, there's a whole bunch of people in those classes, and there's people I'm teaching with. There's a whole world there that has my phone number too. So I can get very overwhelmed with the emails, the phone calls, keeping people straight. I can go from having a conference call with a bunch of attorneys on a litigation matter to a co-teacher, an instructor talking about we're co-authoring a book, which I've done, and going through that process. And then here comes somebody calling, my wife just left me, and you have to be able to make those transitions and focus completely on what you're doing when you're doing it, and then jump on the next track to what the Lord has. It is crazy sometimes, but the Lord has always made it all happen, I think. And what's fallen off the table, I have to trust the Lord that nothing fell off his table. It may have fallen off my table. And we're in an amazing church where the body of Christ is so high functioning that, the man whose wife just left him, I'm not his only lifeline.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm one. And that really, really helps to be ministering in a church that is so precious like ours, where the whole body is doing what the Bible describes the whole body should be doing.
No, it's really good to know. I mean, I think just now, even Daniel and I are in different phases of life where mine are still really little. I'm coaching.
Enjoy it all.
And I am loving it. And I think sometimes I see a lot of the other stuff as being a distraction to like what I love is being with them, being at home with them, coaching them, being with I want to hang out with my wife. Like, these are all people that are top priority to me.
You like them.
I love them.
And they like you.
Yeah, for the most part.
So far.
So far.
For now.
And it's one of those things to where I can see, especially when you're running an organization, that is very demanding, and you're training people, and it's all that stuff. And then you have this other, what feels like full-time job of ministry. It just feels like the calendar has to look jammed. Is there ever a time where you step back, or you have gone, hey, I need a couple of months, long vacation, and actually unplug? Or are you just that guy that's always plugged in and you're just thriving?
A couple of months, no. But for our 25th wedding anniversary, I made a huge mistake. I took my wife on a cruise.
Okay.
And I say a mistake because I took her first class all the way.
Alaska, right?
Yes.
It was Alaska, yeah.
And the mistake is we loved it.
Oh.
So much. And part of what we loved about it was you're unplugged.
Yeah.
You're just completely detached from the world. Now, unfortunately, technology has caught up with that. But you used to be able to get on a ship and there was no cell.
Right.
There was no Wi-Fi. There was nothing.
Just a brick phone, maybe?
Yeah.
Satellite
Why bring your phone?
Yeah.
Why bring your phone? Because there's no way to communicate with anybody. So, so that's where, and that was what, 13, 14 years ago, we kind of got accustomed to maybe taking 1 or 2 weeks and doing that. And it typically is in the fall because I teach a lot.
Sure.
So right now, for example, on my docket, I think there's 13 sermons I know I have to deliver between now and the end of, I think it's the end of October.
Okay.
And you think, well, you know, when everybody's
That's
watching this is July.
Yeah.
What are you worrying about October for? It's because I have 2 trials scheduled and yes, it's the syllabus.
Yeah.
And so Ann and I already know we're going to get away. We already know what it's going to be, and it's going to be for a week or 2. And it is, when I go on a cruise now, I'm sermon prep, and I love it. There's nothing like sitting on the deck, overlooking the ocean, doing sermon prep. And that's when I get to do my heavy duty study. So that's maybe a little more information than you wanted.
It's awesome.
But that's now in this phase of life how we do it. With young kids in the home, I would be up really early on Saturday mornings, really early on Sunday mornings. That was study time. There would be, I used to go to work really early in the morning so that I could be home late afternoon, really, 4:30 or 5, so I could be with the girls. We had 3 daughters. They'd have my attention for dinner until they went to bed, and then I'd get back to work. And so you just learn. And I've said this for a long time, priorities are on a wheel. It's not God is first, others are second, I am third all the time kind of thing. It's not here's my priorities and I'm going to live by these priorities. It's on a wheel. And when I'm with the family, they're the priority. They have to be. They have to have 100%. And when it's time to work, my clients expect that
100%.
They're paying me a lot of money every hour. I need to be giving them that work, and everything else falls away. And I mentioned my wife. She is so supportive of that. She understands the nature of that turning wheel, that sometimes she's on the short end of that, but that the wheel is coming back around, and that she is a priority. And I don't think she questions that at all.
That's a good thing.
Well, Charlie was talking about his young kids, and we've started to see that transition in my life, just that I have a college student and 2 high schoolers who are very independent. And now if I'm doing sermon prep for a Wednesday night, I'm usually in here on Saturdays studying for a sermon because my kids they're in small group. They've got, they got meetings with friends, they're doing other things.
They don't care about you.
Yeah. And it's like this weird independence that I haven't had for so many years in my life now. Also a very supportive wife where it's like, she loves and supports, my work and ministry and all of those things. But it's a weird thing for us because I see him coaching and things, and I'm like, man, those were great days.
Yeah, I'll see the ring camera ding at 9 o'clock. He's in here, and I'm on a field. I'm like, I don't even know what it's like to not be on a field on Saturday with my kids somewhere. That stage of life it's fun, but it's so different now. We're living different lives to a certain degree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're good. They're each good.
Yeah.
But they're different.
Yeah, both good in their own season.
Yeah. And you'll see in the next phase of life when the kids are all gone, the priority then is at the end of the day, you need to be with your wife because she's by herself.
Yeah.
And so that has affected my life and my schedule. Yeah. And then grandbabies come along, and if they live near you, that's a whole new, and that's so much fun. But
so cool.
High priority time issue.
So cool.
My kids are all 3 at camp this week. My oldest is serving on games crew, and then my 2 youngest are there. And so my wife is home by herself. This is a microcosm of, what you're saying of like, it's like, oh, she's home by herself, all day. And it's like, late afternoon, I'm going home. We're going to go do something. And, but these are fun times. Okay. Yes. I have a question. I'm going to pivot hard.
Ooh.
I don't want to sensationalize this. You had an opportunity to get into politics.
Yes.
Now, some people have sensationalized this and said that they were asking you at some point in the future to run for president.
Obama called you?
No.
But
Obama
you were
would never
not.
call me.
Me neither, man.
I want to hear the story. Talk about it. Tell us what that request was.
You have a good memory. I haven't told this story in a long time. This was 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And the Republican Central Committee out where I live, I met a group of those men for breakfast. I didn't know I was meeting with them. I thought I was meeting with one guy, and there was like 4 or 5 guys at the table. And they asked me to run for Congress. And they...
In California?
Yeah. This was 30 years ago.
That's true. I got again. Yeah. All right. Yeah, fair.
Different era.
Okay.
And it wasn't something that was going to open up then. It was in 6 years, this seat is going to open up, or 4 years, whatever it was. I don't remember. I didn't take it very seriously. I just said, why are you talking to me about this? I don't even know you people. Yeah. And it was, well, we know you. We know your reputation. You're a family guy. And they started telling me all these things that they knew about me. And they said, so what do you think? And I basically looked at him. I said, everything you just said is exactly why I would never even consider that. Why would I move 2,500 miles away from my family? You're saying I'm a family guy, and
you want me to be in D.C. all the time?
And you want me to leave my family.
Yeah.
I'm no longer a family guy at that point. And I'm not. And this was heartfelt. I just said, maybe this is a negative on me, but I'm not willing to sacrifice that for my country, I guess. And I feel a little bad telling you that, but I'm not interested. That's all it was. So this thing about how they were asking me to run for president, they did say, you're the future, Congress is a stepping stone. But if you know politics, that's
lip service.
They don't even know they're going to get me in that seat.
Right.
Much less what's going to happen once I get there.
Right.
But yeah, so that's all that story is. That is a legend that has
Fascinating.
outgrown it.
Well, I mean, listen, I know you probably have a lot of strengths that they were looking at. This is one of the things I was thinking through asking you. I've actually talked to Daniel about this a lot. I feel like my greatest strengths are also my greatest weaknesses in other platforms of my life. I think, you have multiple leadership positions, and it's always interesting sometimes from a entrepreneur, very go-minded, sometimes you take it to the church, you're like, this doesn't fit here in certain situations. Can you speak to some of that stuff? Like, what do you see that are strengths that maybe translate both in entrepreneurship and being a leader at the church? And what do you see that really doesn't serve you that can be a strength in the business?
Yeah, well, I'll tell this story. It doesn't reflect well on me, but it's an accurate picture of my learning this the hard way.
Yeah.
That I was an elder in another church for a period of time, for about 9 years. And I remember the morning one of the elders there took me to breakfast, and he said, Chris, you have a big problem. I'm like, oh, what is that? And he's a dear man. I'm so grateful for this man. And he says, the problem you have is that you're usually right. It's a good thing, but it's a bad thing. And it wasn't even basic. He was very blunt with me. You need to stop telling people what you think they should think and what they should say unless they ask you. And even if they ask you, you need to stop giving people your opinion. And he was reflecting directly on my conduct in the context of the church, elder meetings. And if my wife were here, she'd probably be snickering because she probably was saying the same thing to me at home.
Sure.
Stop giving, because if you're a hard driver and you're a thinker and you spent all night tossing and turning, thinking through an issue, you've got it solved. And then you go to a meeting of a bunch of other men and it's like, I've got this answer. And I referenced this earlier in our interview, that the difficulty between partners is you have racehorses and turtles. And the racehorses want to get to the decision. Let's go. I already know where we need to go. Let's go. And that was me. And that was a turning point in my personal life. That was a turning point in my professional life. That was a turning point in whatever ministry the Lord has given me, is that my opinions need to stay with me. And it's to the point now where my daughters will say, Dad, I know you're not going to tell me what you think. I want you to tell me what you think.
You still don't give it to them?
No, unless they ask.
Sure.
I mean, if they ask, yeah, of course.
Sure.
I'm that would almost verge on the other end of being arrogant. That my opinions aren't. I'm not going to let you have my opinions.
Right. No, I hear. Yeah.
But my daughters probably don't remember this, but when they were young, they were probably like, "Dad, we've heard your opinions enough." Well, now, there was a point where they were like, "Dad, no, I really want to know what you think. Why am I not hearing what you think?" That was my goal. And that is the two-edged sword I think you're asking me about. The strengths can become weaknesses. When you've got it, you think you've got it figured out. First of all, you may not know what you think you know. And I can't begin to describe how many times I've learned that by not expressing an opinion, maybe a wrong decision was made, or it was made too late or whatever, but it was so beneficial that I wasn't, stomping my feet saying this is the way to go. I think that answers.
It's definitely one. I mean, I think it's a great thing. I would see that as a strength that can be a weakness. I mean, how long did you feel like it took to undo the teeter-totter in the sense of like, hey, oversharing to like, was there a transition point, or did you just go, I'm going to stop doing this and just cut it off and just hold on to my tongue?
Yeah, it was a cutoff, but I'm not perfect. And so I fell into the old routine,
sure.
Probably more than I care to admit. So it is a discipline, and any discipline or habit requires effort, and that effort will result in failure on occasion. And even to this day, sometimes I'll say something and I'm like, I didn't need to say that.
Sure.
Nobody was asking me for that. So it is a lifelong challenge. It is the Bible talks about that, that, you have never arrived.
Of course.
Ever. And so, and the guy who thinks he's wise and stops pursuing wisdom is missing out on a lot of wisdom, and he's a fool.
I totally hear that.
And I all too often I'm the fool, unfortunately.
Are there other common ones that you see? Obviously, I mean, I relate to it because I feel very type A driver, and I know there's certain situations where I'm like, I am the wrong fit for that ministry position because I am not going to be, I think, the right guy. Or do you see other common things between entrepreneurs and what outside of the racehorse driver thing?
Yeah.
Is it distractedness, or is it, I don't know, too busy, whatever it may be?
I think you have to get comfortable in your own skin, is how I say it. Okay. In that, whether you're a square peg or a round peg. And don't let people, if you're a square peg, don't let people force you into a round hole. You're not going to do well. They're not going to benefit from that. And there's going to be a lot of frustration. And the more quickly you can get to an understanding of your strengths and your weaknesses, the more you can help other people utilize you in a way that will be effective for the organization. In every role of leadership that you're in, it is not a point of authority, it's a point of service.
Right.
And you have to understand that, and how can I best serve this organization? So when I'm asked to go lecture for 8 hours, I know what my role is. And I know I can do that. And I know the role I need to play for those 8 hours. And I need to do it. That doesn't mean I go home and I say, sit down, family. You're in for an introduction, 3 points, and a conclusion, and you're going to take notes. I'm giving you a test. That's what I'm talking about, is know where your strengths are and then where those strengths are needed and apply it where it's needed. So you have to get comfortable with who you are. And part of that is when other people make a decision that you're a square peg and that's a round hole, we're not going to put you in that round hole. You get very, very comfortable that, the providence of God is at work here. I may think I fit that hole perfectly. They don't see that. You roll with that, and you just get more comfortable with that, and there's less conflict. Now, if everyone can do that, there's total peace and tranquility.
That's hard,
but it's hard.
Multiple men, on that leadership roles. It sounds like it can be a challenge.
It can be, and in a partnership relationship, it's not just understanding that, but honoring that.
Right,
and it's not just saying you're not a round peg, so you're not going in that round hole, but I really appreciate that you are the square peg. And
I love that.
so that's humility. To put it in those terms, it's humility, but it's also wisdom, I think, in the benefit here is to the organization as a whole. We're not about a person. We're about whether it's the church or it's your business, your family, that is what you are there to serve.
I love that. We've had conversations over the years, and even, Andrew was asking me some questions about how do we treat the business, being at the top of the organization. And I think for us, we've tried to be, how do we serve the people here? Because we still think our clients are the internal staff. Because if they're happy, our actual clients down the line are happy. Have you seen some of those principles? Obviously, of being servant-hearted is always going to be the right thing to do. But then what do the strengths translate to from like a leadership in the church to the business, right? So maybe the inverse of what I asked before. What have you seen that's been successful for you, for your organization, the people around you that really are Christ-centered?
Well, I think leadership in the church boils down to really two elements, and it's all wrapped up in Hebrews 13:7. Remember those who led you, who spoke the word of God to you. There's the first thing. And considering the result of their conduct, imitate their faith.
Right.
It doesn't say imitate their conduct, you imitate their faith.
Sure.
So in the church, it's really well defined. You speak the word of God, and you live what you teach. And hopefully, the whole concept of imitation is biblical.
Right.
It is replication, discipleship, all of that is what leadership is about in the church. When you roll that to a business environment, obviously you don't speak the word of God unless you want to get fired in many businesses.
Certain situations, yeah.
Yeah, and it's increasingly happening in our culture. I meet with a lot of young men right now who are being sidelined in their career or literally pushed out of the firm because they are Christians. So and it's an extreme way to illustrate. Speaking the word of God isn't a principle that goes to work, but what does go to work is you know what you're there for, and that's what you do.
Right.
At church, it's all about preaching, teaching, training in the word of God. In your business, it's all about fill in the blank. And so that is what you talk about. That is what you do. And then the second element of that, leadership at work, is the same as leadership at church. Lead by example. You got to do it yourself. You got to, not just in what you do, but in who you are. If you're a man of integrity, it's much easier than to say to your firm, we expect employees to have integrity.
Yeah.
When they see hypocrisy at the top, that is license. Now we're getting into my world of fraud. When you often see that there's a culture of fraud, I'll call it, every time you find fraud, and that cuts across all the lines. So in the workplace, the leader has to be about what they are supposed to be about at work, and the second is they have a life and a work ethic and a competency that is exemplary.
That's great.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love it.
Yeah.
How did you guys, talk about your partners and, racehorses, turtles? Who was setting that standard? Was it you? Are you the managing member of the company?
I'm the president of the company,
Okay,
and
so
I
you
don't
are.
know how that happened because it
Yeah, you
really,
do.
it really doesn't matter. In our partnership, it really doesn't matter. The term managing member, we have we have a couple of businesses. Whatever that title is, I think they put me in there because then I'd have to deal with the attorneys and do all that. I really
you get all the worst jobs at the top.
right.
I know a guy with nothing to do.
Yeah, right. I have a partner with nothing to do. So yeah, in our firm, in our structure, that title really truly means nothing.
Fascinating.
And it means nothing to me, certainly. So who set the tone? Well, it depends on what the issue was.
Okay.
So I remember vividly when we rented a floor of a building down in Encino, and we were on the 4th floor, and we were going through a major expansion. We just had added a whole technology consulting division. We eventually went up to, I think, 40, 45 employees from maybe 6 or 7. So it was a period of massive expansion. I have no idea how we survived this as a company or me personally, but they put me in charge of the tenant improvements and getting the lease done and the space built out. You've been through that yourself, I'm sure, a few times.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And for whatever reason, I was the driver on that. I would not have chosen that, but that's the assignment that was given to me. And I wasn't begrudging that. It's just, and I think it was because I was the one that was in the office most consistently, and I was most accessible to the construction people, and I could walk upstairs, up 6 floors to see what's going on. Maybe that's all it was. There's other initiatives in our business where I did not run lead. But the culture of the business, I think, was led really equally by all the partners. We all bought into it. The all for one for all at the top level. We had a philosophy in our firm, and this is how we got into litigation and technology and tax and accounting, and we have a wealth management firm. At some point, we had a partner who was really interested in each of those things. Right. We had one partner that was really interested in asset management, and so we looked at it and we thought, okay, we think we can go this direction. There's some synergy to what we're doing. The existing business can finance the startup of that. Let's go for it. And that is, I'm not recommending that that's how every business should do it, because you may have a partner with crazy wild hairs that you're like, no. We're not going to
We've had one of those.
Miniature golfing. But for us, it worked. And there were some initiatives we started that failed, and some that did just fabulously. And but those were driven by the people who were most interested in them, not the president of the firm. And so that's how it's worked for us.
Did you feel like, every business kind of goes through tough times. Did you feel like you said some of those things failed. Did it create some distraction? Was it the partner got disinterested? Did you guys feel like maybe some of the distraction was good? Was it bad? I'm sure you can tell us about hard times, but what did you see from doing all those different things? Beneficial overall?
Oh, beneficial overall. I believe Scripture teaches that there are no bad decisions, but you better make good decisions. You have a responsibility to make. I can show you all kinds of Scripture that says make good decisions.
Sure.
Be wise.
Yeah.
Sure. I can't show you any Scripture that says there were any bad decisions. I can show you that God does what God's going to do regardless of what we do. He's completely provident. He is sovereign over everything, and everything happens for a reason. And whatever happens, all things work together for good to those who love Christ. So there aren't any bad decisions in the rearview mirror. But there are reasons why things fail.
Sure.
And
Such a good,
I was like, this has got a loop somewhere.
such
I know
a good dividing line.
Yeah.
Because sinful decisions, bad decisions.
yeah, but even God can redeem
Of course.
sinful bad decisions.
Yeah.
That's why it's in that. I'm glad you said that. In that context, that's how I say there are no bad decisions, because you learn from all of them. I can imagine. I remember one decision. We were going to go down the path of computer security back in the late 90s, early 2000s. There was significant work out there available and the way we were going to do it, and we had the brains to do it because we had this technology company that we had started up. We had these 22-year-olds who were just brilliant. And so we were going to do this thing where we go to companies and you say, if you let us attack your system, we will show you
your vulnerabilities
all the vulnerabilities and how to fix them. And I'm saying I didn't have anything to do with this.
Totally get it.
But what killed it was competition between some people that I want to lead that, but I don't have time. Well, I have time, and we've got it on the verge. And another person saying, "Yeah, but that's my area. It was my idea," and it killed it because that hesitation and that conflict, and it wasn't a huge conflict. It was very gentlemanly, but it was. We couldn't get out of the starting blocks because of it. Our competition got out of the starting blocks and made a mint doing that. Do I have regrets on that? I have zero regrets. I have no idea why the Lord steered us away from that. I am very confident He did. And that's the other thing I have to say. I have to say, for me and my partners, it's really never been about the money. It's been find something you love to do, and if and let's see if we can do it and have some fun doing it along the way. And we have.
Well, typically, if you're passionate about it at some point and you're doing a good job, you will get paid for the value you create. So I guess, I mean, overall, too, if you do it for the wrong reasons, you will get bad results typically.
Yeah. And I have to say, we're all bean counters in my firm. We're all CPAs.
Sure.
So there's a cash flow analysis and a little bit of risk. Okay.
Yeah.
Too much risk. No. So when I say we've never really been about the money, we're accountants. So it is
Good decisions are good decisions. I get it.
Yeah. We're very careful in that regard, but we've taken some big leaps and had some fun.
Have you ever been at a point, because I mean, we were at a point a couple of years ago where we're like, I don't know if we're going to make it. Have you had those moments as an entrepreneur?
Oh, goodness. There was one era where we were basically bankrupt.
Hey, that's fun.
Yeah, it is. We made a bad decision. We acquired another firm.
Okay.
And it's another example of the racehorses were almost right away saying, we just made a huge mistake.
But there's no bad decisions.
But there's no bad decisions. That one comes close.
Yeah. We've had that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just took so long to get everybody on board.
Bad culture fits together?
Oh, bad culture, bad people, bad stuff going on that we didn't know.
Got it.
But yeah, let's just say it was a philosophy of business that was completely foreign to what we thought we were getting and what we wanted to be.
Got it.
And it was an attempt to rush into a new area of business that we had said we want to get into this, and this was a way to jumpstart it. There are no shortcuts. And
there are no shortcuts.
We thought we had a shortcut, and it was a bad decision, and it took so long. We didn't operate on unanimity, but on the big decisions, we really wanted to be unanimous as owners.
Yeah, I guess
so. We were unanimous in making the risk of acquiring this company. We wanted to be unanimous coming out of it.
Okay.
And the point of conflict there is look, we've got so much invested, we can't walk away from it. You know that feeling.
You had the pot committed feeling, yeah.
Yep. It's why banks sometimes they get so far into lending bad companies and they figure out this is a bad company, but we've got so much invested, we need to do what we can to see if they'll succeed. That's really what that tension was. It probably was the most significant tension interpersonally in the history of our partnership.
Wow.
And we eventually, in my view, made the right decision, and it took a while to dig out. But yeah, so we just about lost it all on that decision, that one decision.
And what did you learn after? Because, I mean, I think that's where we were at. I mean, we got real close to the end of the road. I felt like we learned a lot. When did you come out of that? And then was that a good thing overall for the business? I mean,
yes.
You talked about, hey, it's no bad decisions. What propelled you after those hard times?
We learned a ton of lessons. We learned we can't take a shortcut on at least this particular venture. And we eventually did that venture a different way, and it's there today, and it did great. We've hit a lot of singles and doubles and now triples and maybe a few home runs. We were swinging for the fences the first time, and so we learned don't swing for the fence if you don't know what you're doing. And we didn't know what we were doing. We trusted people that they knew what they were doing. I think when you got past it, the partners understood each other a whole lot better than they did before, because you understand what your core values are when it's like not enough money. And a lot of money, and we were way down on that other end. And I think there's a sense of unity and bond that once you've been through the war together, there is the foxhole experience with other partners. And when you come out of that, you're like, wow, we've got a lot invested here, and I can trust this person in the foxhole next to me.
Yeah, I feel like the PTSD wasn't bad for us. There's definitely PTSD. I'll flinch when I hear certain things, but I flinch in the right ways now, it feels like. Where, again, I was the gunslinger where I felt like I pushed us into a lot of stuff, trying to take shortcuts, and it bit us. He said yes to a lot of stuff. So, I mean, we all saw it, but, man, we took shortcuts. And that's a good lesson. You just can't.
Yeah, there's a dynamic, this weaves into a lot of the conversation that we've had, but like one of my perceived strengths is I tend to see the best in people, tend to believe the best in people. That can also, on the flip side, make me very naive of people's when they have poor intentions. And so I defer to Charlie, especially when we're driving something forward. He's got a lot of, good ideas, good visions for the company. And so we did our due diligence. We looked at, a previous business partner's reputation in the community, the size of the business that he had built. We definitely saw it as a huge leap forward. Didn't do enough research and then gave too much away in the beginning. We gave a large percentage of ownership right off the bat. Mm-hmm. And so we've learned, from those things that we would say, we're going to scale it in time of proving, watch the water heat up before giving away too much. And then also probably do some more due diligence before jumping in as well.
So you've learned. Those are the same things we learned.
Big lessons, yeah.
And interpersonally between partners, you've already mentioned that he said yes. And I think, I'm not speaking for you, but there is a sense among partners when other partners have deferred to my judgment and I made a bad call.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm describing in my firm.
Yeah.
The fact that they still want to be my partner is... I'm in awe of that, and there's that friendship and there's an understanding that the nature of forgiveness and patience and gentleness when they should have squashed me like a bug, they didn't, and so there's all those things that are good that come out of all of that interpersonally as well as the business decisions, and you all know. You can't lose your edge. You cannot let something like that freeze you from making even aggressive business decisions in the future. And that's also the PTSD that comes is, I'm just going to hunker down and collect a paycheck and not do this anymore. You can't do that.
Doesn't work.
You told us early on when we were starting Greyhawk that we were going to get sued by an employee at some point in time. You were like, if you're an employee or employer in California, this is going to happen to you. You said just,
I think I probably told you it's illegal to be an employer in California.
And you told us it was illegal to be nice.
Yeah. But even, and there's been, some things that we've had to face as employers. But speaking to your point, we can't allow that to jade us against hiring more people.
Correct.
and still trusting and instilling responsibility and giving responsibility and all those things. We can't back away from that. Otherwise, we're paralyzing ourselves and cutting off our legs.
And you can't make your current employees cash checks that the previous employees wrote.
Of course,
right? And that's the hard part for me. Is you do get a little jaded after a while, and you assume everybody's going to sue me.
Well, especially in your line of work, I think you just see it all the time. So you bathe in that.
I live in a world of conflict.
Yeah.
I really do. All day long.
That's so funny.
So, yeah, it probably does affect me a little bit.
That's so funny. And so I saw the website, 2 other partners.
Yes.
Okay. So you had a 4th?
Well, we had as many as at one time, I think 7.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or maybe 8. I'm getting old. I have to remember. I think our throughout the years, I think the number of people on this planet that could say they were partners at one time that aren't now are probably 8 or 9.
Okay.
So we had guys come in and leave, and we acquired a company like I talked about that brought in 2 owners. Then they went out. The core 4 of us have been together and since 1994, and December 31, 2025 was the end of that, where 2 of the men have retired and they're no longer partners.
Sure. On good terms, everything was good. It was
great
time.
Friends,
it was time to call it.
Great love and respect, and I think it's mutual. And they got out of California. So they
That's what Charlie wants to do.
They achieved wisdom faster than I have.
Yeah, I keep wondering how is because I'm a stone cold conservative, and I'm like, how do I keep dealing with all this? There's a day where California will probably not be a thing for me, but my family is here. This is here. Like I have such deep roots. So at the same time,
conservative or not conservative, I don't know how much longer that people will accept the nonsense that we call government here.
Communism? Yeah, I mean, it's getting tough.
It is.
Yeah, it's getting real tough.
Extremely expensive to run a business.
Extremely expensive to own a home. I mean, there's so many things that the government here is just hindering the average person from doing. It's just not feasible long term.
It is not. That is correct.
The Mamdani experience has already been happening here, and it's only gonna, I think, get worse. And at some point, there's a break.
And we might promote him to president.
Yeah. Well, then
where are you gonna go?
Texas, Florida. You go to the strongholds of conservatism, you know. But yeah, I mean, it is true. It's hard, but you know, I don't blame your partners for wanting to get out of California.
No, like I say, they achieved that wisdom thing before I did. Yeah. They got out of California.
So funny. Well, then what's the road? I mean, you talk about, hey, that's being together with partners for a long time. You've been doing it for a while. What's the next 10 years look like for you professionally? 5, I don't know what that looks like, but do you guys have a succession plan built in, or is it kind of pending?
I know on my side of the practice, what I do is so intensely dependent on me that it will retire when I retire.
Right.
And it's really hard to build a vertical structure in a firm, because when a law firm calls and they want an expert to testify in a trial, they know exactly what they're getting, and that's why they're calling. That's why some don't call. But I can't transfer that to anybody else. So, but yeah, our youngest partner is already moving into the functional managing role.
Good.
I defer to him on everything. I let him, he makes all the decisions.
Very cool.
And
so that is the decision that you guys are making then, because long term it will be the younger generation and him.
Yep. Yeah. And I'm talking to him about, you know, who's coming up underneath you. You know, you're 20 years away from being in the same spot. I have no plans to retire, but the Lord knows when I might be required to, or, and I get asked this a lot because I'm getting old. And I tell people I'm working because I enjoy it.
Sure.
And also because the Lord's called us to work and labor. And
work is a good thing.
Work is a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's fun at this stage of life because I don't have to be working. I'm working because I like to work.
It's for the love of the game.
It's for the love of the
Joe
game.
Flacco at 42 years old getting tackled. You know?
And maybe completing a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I always tell people when they ask me when am I retiring, I always say when my employees and my partners start asking me that, then I'll know it's time.
Sure.
For sure. And until then, I don't know. But what I do know is I will always be involved in my church on some level, maybe not at the level I am now, but I will always be involved in the church.
That retirement is in the grave.
Correct.
Yeah.
I have 8 grandchildren, 1 on the way, and maybe more down the road. That is a great love of mine. And
of course,
you know, and the love of my life is my wife. We actually really like each other, and we like spending time together. It is a good thing. I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
And at least one person likes me, and
can take that one to the grave too.
Yeah, right. But professionally, I'm at the place where I'm picking the fruit of decades of work, and where I'm not having to go look for work, and it's coming to me, and I'm saying no to more than I'm saying yes to, and so I get to pick what I work on and who I work with.
Yeah. That's the dream.
And when I run out of those, I'll be done.
That's so cool. Well, Chris, I had a great time getting to talk to you and just get to pick your brain and get to hear who you are and your company. And so thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You know, if you ever want to do it again,
where I am.
I'd gladly have you.
Okay.
Wasn't as unenjoyable as you thought. I
didn't think it was going to be unenjoyable at all. I just didn't know what we were going to talk about.
When I started in Spanish when I said hi, he was like, uh-oh, were you doing this in Spanish? But thank you again.
Yeah, because my Spanish is taco, enchilada, frijoles. That's
pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good for a white guy in LA, you know? But again, thank you. Appreciate it. And I hope you all enjoyed. If you have some complicated matter where Chris can help you, we'll link his information below. And he's not cheap, but he'll do a good job.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Very good. Thank you.
So hope you enjoyed that episode, and we'll see you in the next episode. See y'all.